Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of PRORAW in the Raw. We are live in the gym today and we are practicing safe distancing. And I'm excited to, tell you about our next guest. Our next guest, we've known for a very long time, very close family friend, very strong guy, very handsome guy. Could probably be a supermodel in probably the next James Bond after Daniel Craig is done. He's a big gun in the finance industry. We have Matias. Luke, how are you, mate?
What an introduction, Sam. I'm just going to let you talk. You're much better than me. I'm terrific. Thanks, buddy. Great to see you.
Good to see you too. So what have you been up to? How you been?
Wow. It's, what date are we on today? It's the 14th of April. I've got my home office is all set up. I think you might even be able to hear my dog snoring and growling in the background, which is always par for the course at the moment. Middle of this whole pandemic period, working from home, kids running in, kids running out, wives, dogs, everything. It's just part of life, and I absolutely find it fascinating. We get a sort of a good delve into what people's home lives are like, as well as the business side of things. It's great to see. I mean, I can just see my little 6-month-old Lab retriever in the background stand, so you're gonna have to forgive him because he makes noise whichever way he goes.
He's a beautiful looking boy, that's for sure. I'm lucky enough to be in the gym today. So when I have been doing our Zoom chats from home, I've got my staff here as well. So she's usually like wandering in the background as well, making all sorts of havoc and noise. So it's all part of it, and it's actually interesting. You're right, seeing people's homes and in the background there. So it's quite a unique experience. It's obviously we all sort of put on a front on our social media, but this is this whole pandemic has allowed us to see, we're actually inviting people in our homes, which is a very a unique thing. So it's really awesome that you're inviting me into your home today, allowing me to have this conversation with you. So I really appreciate that.
Oh, absolutely, Sam. And I think it's only going to help the whole world, the whole business sort of environment for the better. I find it fascinating. I was in a big Zoom conference. I spend half my day in Zoom at the moment with a couple of guys high up in NAB. And I was just speaking with them. One of the guys' daughters runs in and with all sorts of noisy toys and everything like that. And do you remember before this, on a Friday afternoon, if you were working from home or something like that, and a dog barked or your kids screamed or something like that, you'd have to almost make a front and say, oh yes, well, I'm just working from home this afternoon. You'd almost have to front foot it and be embarrassed that you were working from home, or, feel uncomfortable. And now it's just every meeting, there's some form of interruption. It's great. It's a really nice way of doing business.
I find it refreshing, and I find it, you're right. So it's kind of like taking it down to the human touch. We've opened our doors, and so hopefully this could be we could learn to be a bit more human moving forward from this pandemic, for sure.
I hope so.
Sure.
Yes,
yeah.
I think
You're
right.
Definitely. But I mean, you have a family. I've got my partner's son. He's actually in the background on the iPad with me today. He's been a good helper. So how's homeschooling going on with you guys? So you got little Faith there. How old is she now?
Faith's 2 and a bit.
So there's no homeschooling. It's just more like terrible twos. So just making sure that
I won't say terrible, because I just love her to death.
Yeah.
What I do is the distraction of having her upstairs. I've been very open. It took us a long time to have Faith, and I'm just the most appreciative father in the universe. And knowing that she is upstairs right now and I'm not jumping on top of her and playing Peppa Pig with her or something like that is a distraction. And that, honestly, that's the most difficult thing I've had about working from home. I normally do quite a bit of work from home first thing in the morning. I say work, between about 5 and 7 before she wakes up. They're my sort of power hours where I really knock a lot of the difficult tasks or the really mindful tasks off for the day. And then I reward myself with spending time with her as soon as she wakes up. Now, these days, she's always upstairs. It's always that constant distraction, or she's in the house. That's mentally my biggest difficulty at the moment to not go and play with her. It's yeah, it's funny. It's very different for a lot of people, and how a lot of different people react to fatherhood or distraction or anything like that. But I think that's the thing I'm struggling with the most personally at the moment.
Yeah, well, yeah, same with me, to be fair, as well. I've got, Luca. Well, my partner's at work, so I have to balance my work day with making sure that Luca's occupied. He's 7 years old at the moment. I just
Oh wow!
So he's actually officially back to school tomorrow. But as we know, there's no schools. So I'm pretty lucky that my sister's a primary school teacher, so she's given us a package to make sure that he's occupied. She actually told me that that in the 20 odd years that she's been a teacher, she's never worked harder on her, like lesson plans for the upcoming school year, obviously. Yep. But also she gave me really good advice. She said to me that during this time, we have to make sure as parents or as guardians of these children going through this, that it's a really positive experience for them. So they don't remember this as a time of like fear or them being scared. So it's important for us to show them that, it's a positive experience for them. So yeah, that's been challenging, but also rewarding when you do kind of like see the results of that.
Yeah, fantastic. Good on you.
Yeah.
What great words it is. It is, because she doesn't understand that the world's going through, or he or kid, they don't understand that the difficulties the world is going through, the economic climates and the banking climates and things. All she knows is that her dad is at home a lot, so I don't want to be that disappointment. Oh, I'm at home a lot, but without being in a good mood, or without being present for different times of day, because it can drive you away or it can bring you closer.
That's right.
It's fantastic learning period.
So how's work been for you?
So I'm in finance. So I, just to put a bit of perspective on it, I have a finance brokering firm which specializes in asset finance, car finance, and the big piece right now is working capital. We became quite business leaders in the working capital operation a couple of years ago, mainly because companies that are growing, they don't have the backing potentially by the banks, unless you've got private banking, you've got a great relationship, which 99% of us don't. It's very difficult for banks to give you money for growth. You might need to spend $1 million to fulfill a $10 million contract, but the banks still say no. And it's created this whole world of fintech lending, overseas lending, that is a very crowded space right now in the SME sector. And it's just been a really pleasant place to be in. The last month or two, this has obviously gone bonkers, because not just the growth, the usual growth clients, but the clients needing working capital to keep their lights on, to keep food on the table. Sole traders, contractors who no longer have any form of income, and are dealing with the distraction from all the media sources around these wonderful billions and billions of dollars going to be arriving on your table very soon. Except nobody seems to know whether they're Arthur or Martha, and the banks are all saying, yes, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. Nobody quite knows. So to be honest with you, I've spent the majority of my days for the last month just talking with banks, just talking with lenders, working out who still has got appetites, who we can push money through, who can bring a quick product to our clients, to our friends in the industries. And it's just been fascinating to watch it play out. We've got, give you an example, we've got people in construction. A lot of the sites went down, so construction was very difficult to lend to all of a sudden. And as the day went on, it was a Thursday a couple of weeks ago, we started off doing construction pieces around 10, 12, 14%, good unsecured rates. By the end of the day, they were at 60%, because the risk factors had changed that significantly. The following day, we couldn't lend to the construction industry again. It's such a moving market, hours rather than months at the moment. And just keeping abreast of it all and trying to communicate with our clients and friends, trying to give them the inside path before the doors close, is something I'm so passionate about. And it's just been the most humbling and rewarding experience to genuinely help people keep the lights on. There's no two ways about it.
So with the volatility of it all, so I know every kind of business or every industry may be unique, but it may be also be grounded by, particular advice that you may be, offering these industries or these businesses. What would you offer advice to? For example, our gym closed about a month ago now. So what would you advise a business like mine?
Look, I won't use your gym because I've known you for so long. Businesses who are affected directly by this pandemic, and I'm wary about using certain words to describe it because it takes your YouTube hits down. Businesses that have been directly affected by it, banks have all of a sudden just closed their doors. So some of the regular lending we would normally do to retail or to health and beauty and hair and beauty and gyms and things has just completely shut their doors because they're not receiving any income from this. So what we're trying to do is gain every little bit of information, every little government grant possible, and that's different to stimulus. And every piece of information around tracking and predicting when funds are coming in. That's the information that you need to be keeping hold of. As I said, if you jump onto The Age or Herald Sun or anything like that, every day there's 100 new opinion pieces around a couple of facts. The best advice would be to go to websites like the treasury.gov website or the top sites which have the actual information. They're a bit more difficult to read. They're a bit less interesting. They don't have the pretty pictures and the advertising to you, but they're the facts. And that enables you to make plans around when your JobKeeper allowance will be coming into play, when your stimulus package from the banks is likely to come into play. I know as of today, it's the 14th of April. Some of the banks are taking applications for stimulus. And I've been saying this for the last 3 weeks. 3 weeks ago, the banks were given access to $40 billion. And everyone was saying, hooray, I'm going to get 250 grand and it's going to be low rates and it's going to be great. It's going to be fantastic. And then they were getting very disappointed because no one was getting back to them. The banks didn't have the facility to lend. The banks had been given their biggest product of the year, but they didn't have the systems in place. They didn't have the software. And once they built the software, I know they've gone through beta testing now. Funny, one of the major banks brought 6 friendly clients on board when they built their system, just regular sort of businesses. And they all auto declined. The system shut down and wouldn't start back up. And they've got through those hurdles now, but it's just the banks are having to work round the clock to get an operation together to give you, me, SMEs money because it wasn't there before. And then they've got to work out how to distribute it between the 10,000 new applications they're receiving every week. There is a massive bottleneck. And I think a lot of businesses are closing their eyes and putting their head in the sand and thinking, oh yeah, there's going to be money coming in. There's going to be money coming in next week or the week after. And it's causing this huge stress. What they need to be doing is thinking, okay, well, I'm not going to get any money till the 1st of June. For example, I know they're going to be receiving JobKeeper by about the 8th of May, is what realistically looks like. But that doesn't help everybody. Really got to think, don't listen to the great things that are coming out from the government because there's no finite time. I'd be planning for the worst case. And if you don't have the cash flow, I'd be looking at getting the cash flow. How? Speaking with people in the know, working out through the market, what can I have as a fallback position? What do I want? I've got food on my table for my kids, to ensure my team are still going to be there, to ensure that there's something for my team to come back to. Getting those timelines in place are absolutely imperative right now.
So what's the opportunities from here?
This is a time where you have to be asking yourself, if you have got downtime, if you are lucky enough to have some downtime, lucky and unlucky in the same sentence to have some downtime, there is just mass opportunity in here. And that's around learning, whether it be a banking product, whether it be anything to further your knowledge in your own environment. But learning about yourself, I think, as a leader is the real important piece here. it's quite obvious, with all the panic, with all the attention being dragged all over the place, people are turning to leaders, whether it might be your accountant or good accountants. It might be someone in your industry or someone in your network who you just think, well, he's the go-to man or the go-to lady. Leadership right now is doubling down in worth. I think it's rather than just being product or just being service that is important in our environment right now. The people behind it, they're where the value is. And if you can create a great place with great people in difficult times, or when the doors open again and the banks start lending and economy sort of zeroes out again, you'll be in such a wonderful position. I've told my team many times, I'm lucky enough to have gone through a few downturns. I've told my team many times that in 2 years' time, in 5 years' time, where were you I always ask them the question, where were you in March 2020? You know, what were you doing? What did March 2020 look like for you? Because I know in 5 years' time, there's going to be case studies. People are going to be talking about it. And I just want them to all have the ability to be able to say, I've left no stone unturned to help as many people less fortunate than we have every second of every day. And don't get me wrong, some of my businesses have been under massive duress, but some of them have fortunately been in a really good place to help. It's just incredible. If I don't have my eyes open to learn though, it's all for nothing. Learning through this period, in the gym industry, it's no use. You can't just stop training. You can't, the gym's shut. So you don't just want to stop training. You've got to learn. You've got to find a way. You've got to work out, okay, well, how do I get the bang for buck and train somewhere else? Do I just do 1,000 push-ups a day? Do I find somewhere to do pull-ups? For the people who want to do something as hard enough, they'll find a way. Yeah. Whether it be stay fit, whether it be help 1,000 people a day, whether it be whatever it might be, just have your eyes open, because there's no better time to learn than when everyone is in absolute panic mode. It's so.
As you said there, so you've sort of advised your team to learn as much as possible during this time, and it kind of inspired us, with the gym to start up our a Facebook group page just for our members only. And to one of our sort of big values at our gym is our sense of community, and having forums like this with members like yourself coming on board and having a conversation with myself, and then I'm able to put this out to them to have to get advice, and then maybe the next person I speak to will have advice for yourself. And this is how we kind of learn from each other, because I feel that we have a lot of leaders in our gym, and my brother Emad is like one of the the best leaders that I know of in his industry as well. So if we all learn from each other, if we outsource learning and build each other up, when we do come from the other side of this, it's just going to be so much better for all of us, for sure.
It's such a great learning curve. Everyone's looking for scale. Everyone's looking for that tech and automate and that sort of thing. Except right now, if you're automating things, they're not having cut through. The real it's the people behind the businesses, and that's what I've always been passionate about. I've always loved learning about. Seeing the people behind PRORAW Gym and other leading entities, other leading gyms and businesses across the industries. The ones with if they're faceless, I think would be, I don't know the stats behind this, I don't know the macros, but if you're a faceless entity, I'd suggest you'd be struggling a lot more than when you've got an empathetic, understanding, caring, leading owner who's very upfront about the whole piece right now. They're the ones who, personally, I'm more drawn to. They're the ones who I'll sort of give my last and support in any way I possibly can. It's rather than just being another number in an automation sequence. And that's what you got there.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. And I think we've done a great job in these last 14 months, 15 months that we've been open as a brand new brand, a brand new business. For those that don't know, like we've never come from the gym industry. We've come from the hair house industry, which is which is totally different to us. But what we keep is that core culture. Culture, as Emad always says, is built from discipline, built from community and caring and attention to detail. He always says retail is detail, and always making sure that every single person, every single customer member is happy and just going above and beyond. In fact, I'm not sure if you saw over the weekend that we actually were renting out some of our equipment. Now, we sold out in a day, which goes to show that there's a lot of people in our gym and that are following us that love to look after themselves and want to train. But little do they know that when they were picking up some of this stuff, a lot of it was in boxes. So we actually went out and bought equipment to rent out to service to these people. And I think that goes to show how much we care. And it's just like you said, based on people that care and we're there front and center, trying to think of ways of not only just try to hustle to keep the business going, which which everyone appreciates, but also trying to find ways to make sure our members are satisfied through this time as much as possible.
And when you've got that mindset, Sam, I've seen it all. I mean, I did put my name down for a couple of bits and I got overlooked. That I'm still a bit salty about. But when you've got that at the base, when you've got that at the core of what you're doing, and it's the people you're doing it for, and not just the dollar. I think in times like this, those people come back and follow you. I wonder how many people are doing Uber Eats right now, or whether they're taking that extra 10, 15 minutes out of their day to go to their local place and pick up that food, knowing that Uber Eats aren't then going to take 30% or 50%, whatever it might be, from that small business who you love to think you're supporting around the corner, but really through Uber Eats you're killing. I'm interested to see that. I know I'm enjoying going to my local places and picking up things because they mean to me a lot, and I want to graciously help as many SMEs as possible. And it's no different to when they help you, just like your members are helping you now. You help them, they help you. Yeah. It's not just all about one-way traffic. That's not as sustainable as that all-round humble approach of just helping and being there for as many people as you can. And that's what you guys have created, and that's why you'll come out of this. And then once we are out of this, you'll flourish.
Correct. And that's why I think we attract like-minded people like yourself, and what you've been able to create with your business and your company with your people around you as well. So it becomes like a snowball effect, and we attract each other, and positivity and movement creates movement, and we start all growing together, which is fantastic. Luke, you've been so gracious with your time. We really appreciate it. Thanks for giving us, those, helpful tips. Any books or any audio books that you're listening to at the moment? Any YouTube links that you'd, recommend us to go on?
Really interesting. Okay, so I pay a lot of attention to Wim Hof. He's also known as the Iceman.
Okay.
He has a breathing method that I use when things are getting on top of me, when things are getting difficult and stressful during the day. And recently they're stressful because I've been wearing a lot of other people's issues on my sleeve as well as my own issues. That is something, the Wim Hof method. He does guided tutorials on breathing methods, and I'm playing it down a little bit. It's the most incredible thing. If you've got 5 minutes, 10 minutes, go through a Wim Hof guided breathing tutorial when things are really on top of you, and you can just sit down in silence for 10 minutes and do this. That's spectacular. I'm a constant listener of Dr. Joe Dispenza, Robin Sharma, people who bring me up rather than down, because podcasts right now, in this time where you're not hanging around with as many friends and as potentially as good influencers, you've got to keep your mental digestion high, and surrounding yourself with all the negative media, I think brings you lower. So you've got to really have people who bring you up, and give you new methods of thinking. I'd love to sit you and your brothers all day, because I know I come out of the conversations a lot higher than when I went in. So the more impressive people and podcasts and information you digest right now, just bulletproofs your life. So listening to in the raw, like that, and it's great.
Thanks for the plug. So Wim Hof is the man. Where can we find him? On YouTube?
Yeah, go through YouTube.
Okay.
Go through YouTube and come out of it. And when all the pressure's on and you come out of a 5-minute breathing session, you're just ready to crush the world. I can do it 5 times a day, and you're just ready to, you feel the adrenaline's flowing, like you're just jumping on a deadlift platform and you've got 270 by, I wish, 260 coming up very, very soon. You know, that rush of adrenaline, you love it.
All right, I'm ready to take on the day now. Thanks so much for your time. I'm ready to crush the day.
Fabulous.
You're the man, Luke. Thank you so much.
Cheers. Sam, see you soon, bud. Bye-bye.